Hello, 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 everyone. We are live. Thank you for joining us. We are back here for Luxury Legacy Spotlight. This is our first one this year. So we have to kick it off with my amazing family and friends to talk all things generational wealth, because that's what we do here. So today we have Pam Covarrubias joining us and Portia Wood joining us. You guys know them, but of course, we will give everyone an opportunity to introduce ourselves again. Hey, if you're here with us, please drop your name in the comments. Let us know what you're here, where you're joining us from, and let us know what generational wealth or building a legacy means to you. So again, I'm Michelle Morton. I'm your hostess with Luxury and Legacy, all about building wealth through generation. Building legacy through real estate. I'm serving the DC, Baltimore, Washington, DC, Maryland, Virginia areas with a real estate team called DMV Forever Home. So, Pam, do you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Pam Covarrubias. I'm host of Café con Pam podcast, the podcast that interviews people doing awesome things and changing the world. And I also am a business coach, spread ideas with people, and I became the coach my mom needed.
Yay! I always ask you, what does that mean, Pam? You became the coach your mom needed.
I realized I didn't want to be a coach. And so my business coach was like, what you're doing is coaching. You just are calling it strategy, but whatever. And so then I had an opportunity to coach immigrants, to coach Spanish speakers, and I found myself with so much joy and passion and commitment to their growth and success that when I went back and really analyzed why am I so passionate about helping these people is because I saw my mom represented in
Awesome. Love, love, love that.
them.
Portia, welcome back.
Hi, you guys. So nice to be here with you. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Portia Wood. I am a generational wealth planning attorney, and I am founder of Wood Legal Group LLP. We are an intergenerational family wealth firm. We also serve Maryland, DC, Virginia, California, etc. And I'm also the founder of the Black Trust Fund Kids, which is an educational platform for normalizing intergenerational wealth in historically and systematically marginalized communities. We do a lot of educational events there, and I'm just so excited to be here with you guys.
Yay! Thanks again for always joining us, Portia. You guys know this is like our family and friend circle. So we're going to dive into, let's just start with why we're all here. We all know it's about legacy and generational wealth, and that landscape itself has changed a little bit, right? Like as time, every day goes by, that space changed. When we first started getting together, it was like COVID-19 and all this racial tension happening throughout the world, which was great because it put a spotlight on some really uncomfortable spaces. And I think that through that adversity, a lot of people were introduced to the concept of legacy building and generational wealth and estate planning and building a business and how to leverage real estate. So, what have you seen change or come from? What's different from when we first started getting together? If anything, you're like
That's
nothing.
such a hard question because it's like so much has stayed the same in the sense that the problems that were highlighted before still exist, right? We see a lot of individual sort of accountability for family wealth. So people taking the time to get more educated about what it means to understand the process, and that is wonderful. But we still have a really long way to go, right? The urgency is sort of more so than ever before. I used to talk about we've got like 10 years. And now as time goes on, we've got about 6 years to get the elders in our communities covered to make sure that we can protect and preserve what they have spent their lives building and ensure that it is able to be leveraged by future generations to sustain wealth, right? Or to sustain access. And that's starting to feel very scary in the urgency space because it's not a lot of time and there's a lot of people who still need to be touched. So when you say what's changed, I think the urgency of it has changed.
I love that. And so I remember Portia, we always talk about Portia having all the stats, right? She's the one that drops the facts on us. So I remember you said before there was like 10 years, there was this ticking clock, especially for African Americans when it came to um, not having any assets to pass to future generations. What does that number look like? I know you said it's more urgent. And you may not know, guys. Forgive Portia if she doesn't have the exact number.
Well, there were studies that were done, right? And people are currently studying the impact that COVID-19 has had, but we can sort of guesstimate. There was a study that was done in 2017 that said by 2053, the median net worth for African American families was set to hit zero, that it would take another 20 years for Latino communities to hit that same result, so 2073, but that was the trajectory if nothing changed. We also saw in a study that came out in 2017 that only 13% of college-educated African Americans were getting $10,000 or more to the next generation. If we say that differently, 87% of college-educated African Americans in the U.S. society were not getting $10,000 to the next generation. We're passing negative wealth. I am happy to report that number has increased from 13% to 14%. It is not a huge jump, but it does mean that the pendulum is shifting the other way, which is what we want to see. We want to see that we are having an impact and the work that we're doing is making a difference. And so when that number is going up versus going down, that's always a good start. So when we think about the impact of COVID-19, and I believe it was about 1 in 289 African Americans died, where the final stats died during COVID-19, this really accelerated the timeline. Because in 2017, they could not have predicted that. And so what we're seeing is that it is a much more urgent situation. Couple that with the fact that in the next 6 years or so, all of the baby boomers are going to be over the age of 65, which is impactful because 65% or 62% of people over the age of 65 need some form of long-term care before they pass away. And long-term care can be a huge deterrent to sort of wealth preservation, because if people haven't planned for it, they're going to end up spending everything they've accumulated before it ever has a chance to pass it on. And so we want to make sure that in this next 6-year window, that we are educating and protecting as many people as possible so that they can preserve everything they've worked for. So yeah, those are the stats, and that's why I say it's urgent. It's now, because once you're in the cycle, you can't really get off that train.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Portia. And Pam, I mean, I know we talk about like the Latinx community and, we talk a lot about the Black community here, and people don't realize how in line our stories are, right? It's like, so just based on your lived experiences over the last year, what have you seen coming out of your community?
We are starting, Latinas are actually the demographic that starts the most businesses at the fastest rate right now, which is fascinating because it makes sense. They're the lowest paid, and so they have to make ends meet. And so I often meet lots of Latinas that have full-time jobs with a side hustle, because you have to just make things happen. And so it's that resiliency and the resourcefulness that we just have to, like, all under recognized individuals, we just have to come up with ways to make it work. And so when I read all the information around Latinas being the fastest growing business owners, I'm like, yes, and why do we have to create so much? It's awesome, but it's also, I think there's so many underlining layers to uncover there. Like, we're the lowest funded, we are the lowest paid, and so really how we are navigating the world is by making it happen how we can. And so it's to your initial question of how things are changing, I think we're just kind of making things happen how we can do it with what we have.
Awesome. And then I'll just speak, of course, from like the real estate perspective, right? What I saw come out of that, which I'm really excited about, of course, to Portia's point, to Pam's point, like things have not, the needle hasn't moved very far, right? But what I am happy to say is that the needle has moved. I love now that based on even us sitting here, right? Based on Pam and what she does on her platform, based on Portia and what she drops on her platform, right? I love when I see you guys because I think that people are getting more educated, right? I have clients now coming to me asking about estate planning. I have clients coming to me asking about business coaching and how can they really build a business, not just because they want the side hustle, which is super important, but also because they want to leave some intellectual property or a trademark or something for the generations coming after them, right? And in the real estate perspective, the same. I have more people right now out of four clients that purchased last month, two and a half of them were investors, right? They were people who wanted to buy property and leave something for the
Yes.
generations that come after
I love that. I love
them.
that.
Yes, yes.
We are taking advantage of this space in so many different ways, and I think the more educated people get to the game, right? We say it all the time: if you don't know the rules of the game, you cannot win. Some people are going to win by mistake; they will by happenstance, right? The roll of the dice works out in their favor, but it's not replicable. We're starting to learn the rules of the game. This game in the United States of capitalism, et cetera. And the rules are really the tax laws. The rules are the estate laws. The rules are, that's how you play. And then all of the little pieces throughout Monopoly is starting to come together for people, I think, very holistically. So I love that. Michelle, that's awesome.
Yay. All right. So now I want to hear a little bit about you ladies and like what's happening in your spaces now with your businesses, with your clients, and what does that mean for what you're doing moving forward?
What I'm noticing in my landscape, it's Portia, you made me think of creative funding because we have had to face a lot of inequalities from the lens of funding. And so what I'm noticing a lot more is this like more leaning on the community and really just saying, you know what? Let's all work together on this, support me on this. And I I'm seeing that shift where people are supporting more and asking more because it goes both ways. I come from a culture where it's like, don't ask too much because you don't want to overbear, like you don't want to be too much. And
Yeah.
so we're learning to raise our voice, we're learning to really ask for what we want, whatever that is. And then on the other end, people are being more open to supporting and really understanding that it is with I mean, Latinos are the fifth largest GDP. If Latinos in the US were a country, we would be the fifth largest, like we got money to spend. And so I think now the conversation has shifted into how do we really circulate our money in a way that we can leave it behind for others, in a way that we can support others. And those conversations, now that millennials are kind of like paving a lot of a lot of those conversations, I'm seeing some shifts, which is super fun. We still have a long way to go, but we are getting there.
Yeah, I would say that is so true, right? There's something about the collective economics element that is really inspiring, right? Seeing people work together, seeing people navigate away from the traditional sort of banking spaces that have historically, I mean, call it what it is, been very abusive to the community when it comes to, subprime lending, when it comes to denying, when it comes to these loans that just are predatory. We've sort of been taught to not to trust the institutions, which has left people without real capitalization in their businesses. And to think about the resilience and the fact that people still were able to create, right, even in spite of those circumstances, is incredible. And now what we're seeing is, hey, we don't have to do that. We have people in these spaces. We have investment groups in these spaces because the generation that came before created a pathway that now this generation has so much more access than ever before. I also think that the technology and the rise of technology has been a great equalizer, not fully equal, but creating much more equity in the business spaces, because what the information that used to be gatekept about how to navigate these processes is being given to the masses, which means we right? We, the women-owned businesses, the minority-owned businesses, we get to go and actually have an opportunity to get appropriately capitalized by navigating the system because someone is out there teaching the rules to that game. And it's been a major shift in what our businesses have looked like and what our communities can look like. And Pam, I would say, we see Latinas coming in and starting businesses at incredible rates. And yes, there is the question of why, like why do they have to, but also putting all of that into the market creates such a beautiful representation of sort of diversity in ideas, right? The way
Mm-hmm.
we run businesses is very heart focused, very people focused, very centered, right? Which is different than the traditional sort of business model. And you can see that shift in the
Mm-hmm.
way people are cared for, in the way if you have product-based businesses, the care that goes into each and every piece of it, not harmful chemicals, but really honoring the whole body, spirit, home. And it's creating a very different sort of environment for our people to grow up in. It's an exciting time. We
Yeah,
talk a lot about the problems, but it's really an exciting time to see where we go.
totally. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was like, we get to see a lot of things, resources, information. And I was like, you didn't? I was just,
Yeah.
and she's like, well, we didn't have cell phones. And
Right.
so, and I'm like, okay. And so what you just shared, I'm like, yeah, we do have all this plethora of information and access and possibilities where we can just like
Mhm.
make things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super exciting. I don't know, and I see it a lot too in the space of real estate, right? What are the maybe I don't know if you know the numbers, Michelle, off the top of your head, but at one point in time, it was about 42% of African American families own their own homes, and we were starting to see that number trend upward around 43 and 44%, and so more people were getting into home ownership, more people were taking advantage, they were taking access despite really challenging markets, right?
Mm.
Despite cash buyers, despite interest rates going up. And one of the things that I think has really pushed that needle is realtors like you who come in and navigate this really complex process with the clients to walk them through and create safety. One of the places that I think we're still failing in that industry is going to be in the home evaluation market, right? Making professional people get access to the equity in their homes, which is a huge wealth builder. That is now the next battle, I think, on the real estate front to make sure that people are still protected. Is that something you're seeing, Michelle, inside of your space?
Yeah, and I think that in the real estate space, I think that now that everyone's educated and people are buying properties, I think that the next space is, of course, with Portia, of course, protecting those assets, right? Because we still have Big Mama's house and people not knowing what to do with it. I think that protecting the asset and then leveraging the asset. People are confused. They're like, oh my gosh, these interest rates are so high. Do I refinance to pull out that equity? How do I maneuver? And I just kind of say, one, it's based on your situation, right? Interest rates being at 6 7%, it's not earth shattering. Like Auntie Nessa, I wish she was here, but she'll tell you when she purchased her first property, her first investment property, I think it was like $89,000 in Chino, California. I think she said interest rates were, I know they were double digits, you know? And if she would not have made the move to get into the game, then she wouldn't be where she is now. She wouldn't have been able to leverage those small properties into a portfolio. So I think now it's just about not getting scared because people who don't have generations of leveraging assets, leveraging businesses, leveraging intellectual property, leveraging real estate. When things shift, they don't know what to do, so they run, tuck tail, and hide. Right. So I think it's important that we continue having these conversations so people know: one, we got your back. Two, it's okay. You're not in this alone, and we're gonna keep building, right? Everyone, watch out. We're going to keep building women, people of color, first generation. We're here. I love what I'm seeing. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing is everyone's afraid. They're afraid of the interest rates rising. They're afraid of inflation. They are sitting still. And so my word is keep moving, keep going, keep building. Awesome. Okay, so what I want to ask really quickly is because we all are building, right? The people who come, the people who watch us now, the people who watch us on the replays, they come for us, right? So what is it that you're doing in your business? What's your next chapter look like? So, I'll start. Of course, you guys know we made a little bit of an announcement that we have rebranded. So scary, but so exciting, right? So we've rebranded from DMV Forever, DMV Luxury Homes now to DMV Forever Homes. Still all under Luxury and Legacy, which is now trademarked, by the way. Woo woo!
Ownership. Yay.
Yay!
Congratulations. It's so
Thank
wonderful.
you. And the reason we moved from luxury homes to forever homes is because we're really a people business. Again, it's about, of course, we're all about legacy and building generational wealth, but at the same time, we don't want people to look at us as a transactional partner, right? We're not your partner for just this transaction, but we're your partner forever. So that was important to us. And through that, we've also partnered with Place, which is an amazing organization, huge. They have a partnership with Goldman Sachs. And so we get all the nitty gritty details about what's happening in real estate and from a financial standpoint. So it was a pretty big move for us, and we're really excited about it. So moving forward, you'll just watch more. We also have kicked off as you know, Forever Homes Property Management, which Portia's going to kill me because she's been trying to get me to list one of her rentals forever. But
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get the property listed while I'm here. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. What's happening with Wood Legal Group, Portia?
So we're still here at Wood Legal Group. We're still here educating. That is still the foundation of our business, making sure that people understand the process. So, I have tons of speaking engagements all around the country, which has been really exciting. I am here in Baltimore, which is fun. Yesterday, I spoke at Howard University's Business School about the importance of succession planning for businesses, in conjunction with the Small Business Administration, as well as the business school and the business clinics there. So really finding ways to have inroads with the community to make sure that we're touching the people who need this information the most, and obviously providing estate planning and multi-generational planning services. What's been really exciting is the build out on Black Trust Fund Kids. So we launched the page. We have courses that are coming out. So, generational wealth, protection, building and protection for millennials. So specifically focused, this course is sort of an 8-module course specifically focusing on, student loans, being the sandwich generation, taking care of parents, as well as raising young kids. How do we build wealth in those spaces? How do we, minimize our debts? How do we continue to self-actualize in this society in the way that we've been sort of dropped into it with inflation and every other thing? So that's been really exciting. I've got a course on financial literacy for women that is launching at the end of the summer, which I'm very excited about because you guys know, right? Women have a different sort of experience with money generationally, and we still get paid less on the dollar, and then that gets broken down even further depending on which subcategories you fall into. We also haven't had access to capital in the same way, right? It's only recently, and I do mean recently, like our mother's generation, that women actually got access to credit at all without a man's signature. And people forget that. People forget that women didn't have a right to have credit cards in their own names. People forget that we couldn't open bank accounts without our fathers or our husbands. People forget that we are so new in this wealth journey, and that the laws really were against us, right? When people talk about RBG and her being a superstar, but one of the things that made her a superstar was setting the building blocks for women to have access and autonomy over their own money and over their own lives. And that is the legacy that she left behind for us. And we're really the first generations that actually get the full-fledged benefit of it. But that means we don't have a whole lot of mentors, right? We don't have a whole lot of people who came before us who were able to navigate that space. And so how do we help people do that? So I'm very excited about the courses that are coming out. We, if I may, I'll just plug this a little bit. We have a guardianships done in a day guardianship plan that is launched on Black Trust Fund Kids website right now through Father's Day. And it is a special to get people covered for guardianship. y'all know it is one of my like big passions and loves, is making sure that children are protected in our society. And COVID-19 really expanded or put a big spotlight on the issues of lack of guardianship, because more than 146,000 children were orphaned between April of 2020 and June of 2021 as a result of COVID-19. And 60% of those children were in minority communities. The United States ranked fourth in the world for orphan children, behind Brazil, Mexico, and India. We were the only first world nation in the top 5 for orphan children, and 60% of those kids were in minority communities. We know that people don't have guardianship. And there's really 2 main types of guardianship for people, right? Temporary guardianship, what happens if you're in the hospital or you're sick, car accident, or you're even just on vacation. And then permanent guardianship, what happens if you pass away. And what people don't realize is your family is not automatically able to just step up for your kids if you haven't nominated someone. Just because they're your mom does not mean that they have legal rights to your children, because not everybody has a good mom or a healthy mom. And so the state doesn't create these blanket rules for parents. If we, the parents, don't give these guardianship powers and authority to another adult, then our kids can end up in Child Protective Services custody. A judge then is responsible for deciding who is a safe adult for these kids to go to. And that process can be incredibly traumatic for the child. And most parents don't know that that's what they need. So I was really excited to launch at Mother's Day the Done in a Day guardianship plan, and then to be able to continue it for Father's Day. So it is up there. It is at a super cool discounted rate right now through Father's Day to try to get as many people protected as possible. And so it is up there on the website. So that's really some of the exciting things that are coming down the pipe. I have a couple of other things. I'm not sure if I can say it yet if I want to jinx it, but we do have a financial literacy program that we have been building out. I've been doing it in the school system at Pasadena Unified for Rose City High School, which has been really exciting. This is my 3rd year, I think, doing it there. And we are now in talks to bring it to the school district at large, to bring that program in. So that's really exciting. I've been teaching financial literacy as well as entrepreneurship at a school in New York for about the last 5 years. And I had a meeting here in Baltimore about potentially bringing it to the community in partnership with a very well-established nonprofit here to build intergenerational wealth within their platform. So there's a lot of things moving and shaking, and super excited about where we're going with this and how we can really impact change on a larger scale.
Yay! And it's so funny, when you started with What Legal Group, I was going to ask about Black Trust Fund Kids, but I had no idea everything that you guys were building out. So I'm so excited. Guys, done in a day guardianship. I kid you not, super, super important, right? Done in a day, make sure your kids are well protected. And it doesn't just have to be children, right? It could be your nieces, your nephews, whoever it is that's that you're responsible for. So blacktrustfundkids.com, Portia?
Yep, blacktrustfundkids.com, and actually right there at the top will be the Done in a Day guardianship. And even if you don't do the Done in a Day, although I think everyone should, there is our Guardians Guide, which can give you, it's free, it gives you great information about how to pick guardians, what types of guardianship you need, because most people don't know that process. So, take advantage of the free resources. We're building out the resource library. We're also building out the community. So people can actually subscribe to the website. They'll get their own profile. They can have questions and conversations. And we have like a lot of member events that are coming up soon. So we're really building out that community so people can share their experiences and learn from one another and truly, truly change, shift the pendulum from where we are now to a much more prosperous future for all of us.
Yay. And Jamila, I'm sure you're watching. We'll get together and let's send out some notifications to our community about this opportunity so that way they can chime in. Awesome. Yay, Pam, what's happening in Cafe Con Pam?
I'm thinking about all the things that Portia just shared. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm taking notes. I'm sending it to everyone. That's wild. So, and as you're talking about women, I thought of the one of my favorite quotes. It's an African proverb, and it says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And so, when women build things, we truly share them with the world. So what's happening at Cafe Con Pan, we are in growth mode. We are now, I'm now working into how, I'm a disruptor. And so I'm redefining how business is done so everyone can own it instead of a capitalistic hierarchical mode. I'm working on a more of a circular type of economy, and I want to make I'm making Cafe Con Pan be that. So I haven't announced it. So stay tuned for more info around
Yes, I
that.
love this. Oh, I'm so excited. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. Okay. Yay.
Yeah, because I realized that Cafe Con Pan is a project that grew to be larger than me, and so while I'm the face and the voice for what it is, it's a community project, and so I want everyone to be a part of it. That's what I'm working on currently. Personally, I am now. Portia, I need to talk to you about this because I want to bring in a voice a stand it's a program that I'm working on called Outspoken, from quiet to outspoken, because Latinas are we grow up hearing you're prettier when you're quiet. And so it's the submissive, like you're quiet submissive and that's how you navigate the world. And so the stereotype that Latinas face, it's either you're the spicy Latina or you're the quiet and good girl. And so a lot of times our identity gets challenged because of it. We don't speak up at work. We don't speak up. We don't ask for more when it comes to business. We don't charge all the things. And so right now I'm developing the program to support women into becoming outspoken and really standing in their power, speaking their truth. And I want to make it into a school program for high schoolers, college, and professionals.
Yes, yes, I love this. So I would love to talk with you about this because that's part of the financial literacy course for women, right? It's how do we take ownership and agency? The best way to do it is to get educated because you
Mhm.
can't speak up and you can't ask for more if you don't know what you're asking for, right? If you don't know what your options are, if you don't know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to get to, then you can't speak up.
Mhm.
There's this incredible story that I saw online, and it's this woman who's a lawyer, and she went to this law firm, and one of the questions that she asked in her interview process was, "What do I need to do in the next 5 years? What are the metrics to become a partner?" And she forced them to outline it in the interview process, so
Yes.
that in that 5 year span, she hits all those metrics, and she goes, "Okay, it's time to be a partner." And what she had said, and she's giving this interview about it, and she says, "My dad taught me that if I can put them on a hook in the beginning, I can showcase the metrics. I know exactly what I need to do to get there, and they need to now give it to me because they've made that promise in the interview." That's generational privilege that people don't recognize. Those small little things that, like, you and I go into the interview and we haven't been given that knowledge. We're just working, working, working. We don't have a metric or framework to hold people accountable for what the next step of success looks like. And so how do we teach those tips and tricks and tools and resources to not just the next generation, but to our contemporaries, to our elders, to say, here's how we navigate these different spaces differently as women, how we make these demands, how we make these asks, how we do it in the way that honors and respects who we are. So I love, yes,
Yes.
that's partner. I would love to chat with you about that.
Yes.
Making connections,
Yay.
Michelle, making connections.
Live.
Yay. Live. And these are lifetime connections. That's why we keep coming together. I'm like, okay, who are the most amazing and powerful people I know? Okay, let's put them on a panel as often as possible. And so, okay, so what we're going to do before we close out is because we always leave people with the goodies, right? So, what is one actionable step that you would leave the people with today? One thing to keep building, keep moving, keep going. Yes, baby, we can keep buying.
Love little voices. So for lately, I've been really into 1% better. So what is one thing that I can do today that will get me 1% better? Because whether we're building a business, we are putting together something, we have a project, we are building a resume, getting an interview, we often tend to look at the end result and it looks so far away and it's so overwhelming and so large that we're like, "Ugh, let's not even because it's too big." But if we just do one thing that will get us 1% better, in 10 days, we'll be 10% ahead. In 20 days, we'll be 20% ahead, And so just think about the 1%. People often come to me because I often say I'm a recovering procrastinator. And so they come to me for like productivity tips. And really what happens now that I've learned after talking about productivity for so long is that we're stuck because of fear. Procrastination is rooted in fear. And so the fear comes from many different things. One being the project's too large for our brain to really understand what we need to do. But if we just ask ourselves, what is the one thing that we get, the 1%, the one thing that I can do that will get me 1% better for tomorrow, just do that.
Love it.
Okay.
Love
Yes,
it.
1% better. But exactly, it's take the next right step, right? Keep moving forward. You can't just take the knowledge and say, okay, now I know that I need a succession plan, or now I know that I need this thing, and not take action, because knowing is never enough, right? So I would say take action. Get educated, go utilize the free resources, utilize the tools that are available. There has never been a time in history where the access to information was more available than ever before, right? There's never been a time where we could actively get this information that had historically been gatekept, that was left for certain families, that was left for certain communities. Now it's available for the masses. And so it is on us to take that responsibility and say, okay, I'm going to do what the next right step is. I'm going to make sure that I know what my family needs to be protected. I'm going to make sure that I know X. And I'm going to seek out assistance so that I make sure it's complete and thorough. So I would say take action, right? Much to Pam's point, what's the next 1%? We've got to take a step. You have to move. So
Yes, I love it. And it's so funny because everyone is really on the same page. And so I'll chime in a little bit. Mine is connect and leverage, right? We're building these communities. We've built these communities. We've been on the clubhouses. We've been on social. We've been sitting in our house growing our network for 3 years, right? And so now that we're all back outside, you have connected with some of the most amazing people. So continue connecting and leverage those people. If you have questions about real estate, you need to call me, right? If it's investing, if it's buying, if it's selling, if it's developing, whatever it is, even if I am not the expert because I don't know everything, then I'm going to connect you with the right people, right? If you want to know about estate planning or now financial literacy, you're going to reach out to Portia. Why? You know where to find her. You have all of her details. If you want to reach out to how the Latina community is building, how you can stop being a procrastinator, how you can build your woman-owned business, you're going to reach out to Pam, right? And those are just a couple of the goodies in her arsenal. So my thing is connect and leverage. That's it, right? So you have do the 1%, take action, and then connect and leverage. Boom.
what did I
Awesome.
say? Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Great way to end.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, everyone out there, thanks for, if you're watching the replay, #replay, you know the deal. Drop it so that we know you came. If you have questions, drop them. If you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, drop those questions and we will get back to you. Pam, where do the people find you? Where's the best place?
Spreadideasmovepeople.com.
Sure.
It's kind of like a long one, or cafeconpam.com. It's
Awesome.
easiest.
And subscribe to her podcast, y'all. Pam, how many episodes have you played?
310.
Wow.
310.
Yeah.
Pam is shy, but that thing is the best thing out there. She's been doing it for years, right? She has like people paying her.
Yeah, the podcast
to
the podcast sustains itself.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
so
it's
if
a
you
media
want to know how to
company.
do a podcast
Mhm.
and make money at it and really build an audience, reach out to Pam, right? Portia, where do the people find you? We already have blacktrustfundkids.com.
Yep. So blacktrustfundkids.com, woodlegalgroup.com, Black Trust Fund Kids on TikTok. Hey, TikTok fam, we're also streaming live on TikTok. So if you see me going back and forth, I'm like, hey. But really that's the community. That's where we are. We are also, I'm getting ready to launch a podcast with a wealth manager that I've worked very closely with, who's been in the wealth management space for like the last 25 years, to give more of this information. And so we have recorded sort of the first 3 or 4 episodes, and we're going to launch it once we have the first 6. We're gonna launch it out. So be on the lookout for those announcements. This it's all moving forward, and the whole goal is to be able to create a space for good, positive information that can cut through all the BS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. And you guys know where to find us. luxuryandlegacy.com/watch. That's our YouTube. Subscribe. And then if you, for anything real estate related, luxuryandlegacy.com or dmvforeverhomes.com. All right.
Yay!
Have a great Friday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.